Hello? Hello? If you're new here, welcome. My name is Cinnamon Roll, and if you're a regular, welcome back. You might be wondering what I'm showing on screen here. These are hat channel pieces that I bought from Skoolie.com. I'll be using them in the roof raise, but you'll see that in a later video. We'll start off by me removing some of the primer that I put on for my last video. I did this because I thought that body filler wouldn't work over primer. Turns out, it doesn't really matter. Speaking of body filler, this is Bondo. And I know, body filler gets a bad rap, but for my application, this is good enough. So I tried to follow the directions as closely as I could, but I'm not 100% sure that I got it right. I learned very quickly that once you add the hardener to the Bondo, the time period you have to work with it is very narrow, which means that you have to apply it very quickly. Over time, I have experimented with this, and I have found better ways to do it. According to the directions on the can, this body filler is supposed to be sandable within 15 minutes. Now, I don't know if it's because I used too much or too little hardener, but my curing time was more like half an hour to 45 minutes. I know that temperature wasn't a factor because every day that I was working on this particular panel was above 25 degrees Celsius. That's 77 degrees in freedom units, by the way. So I'm a bit of a jack of all trades, but if there's one thing that I found out that I'm not very good at, it's bodywork. I don't know if it's because I lack patience or the right skill set, but something about bodywork just doesn't click with me. This is my cheap, random orbital sander that I bought from Walmart. I used 120 grit sandpaper to take off any peaks and remove any excess material in the body filler. On the can of Bondo, it recommends using 80 grit to take off the vast majority, and then switching to 120 to smooth it out. I found that when I tried to use 80 grit, it was much too aggressive and was taking too much off too quickly for my comfort, so I opted to use 120 for everything. So, I stopped drinking alcohol altogether recently because I get headaches from even the smallest amount, so I've been trying out all sorts of non-alcoholic drinks. I've been enjoying many non-alcoholic beers, and I just have to ask, why do people like IPAs? Not to say that your opinion is incorrect, but why do you enjoy drinking bile exactly? I just don't get it. What does this have to do with the video? Nothing really, I just wanted to rant about it. Anyways, enough about that. Now you're seeing me spray primer here, and that's for a very good reason. I was having a hard time differentiating where the peaks and valleys were in the bodywork because of the color difference between the metal and the body filler. By painting it all the same color, I'm better able to see what and where I need to fix. I got a cool hat? Yes, I have a sun hat. No, it's not a fashion statement. You may have noticed that I'm a bit deficient in the follicle department. And don't get me wrong, bald life is best life, but there are definitely a few downsides to having very little hair. One being sunburns on the scalp. If you know, you know. This is glazing and spot putty. When you're doing bodywork with body filler, the surface that it leaves isn't always perfect. Glazing putty is much more waxy in consistency and fills in a lot of those small imperfections. It's also nice that it's a different color so I can actually see what I'm doing. And this is filler primer. Filler primer is a high build paint that helps to further fill any holes in pitting. You're supposed to add multiple layers, sanding in between until you get a nice smooth surface. One thing I did wrong here was that I didn't prime with a regular primer first, and this is going to come back to bite me later. Even after all that, I still didn't quite get it all right, but I wanted to move on to something else. To get this project ready for paint, I have to remove all the stickers from the exterior. To do that, I used a heat gun and a combination of scrapers. These aren't too difficult to remove, though there is a sticky residue that I will have to remove later. I do have a plan for that, but you'll see that in another video. Now, I didn't get all the stickers off, but it was a fun side project. It was time to turn my attention, however, to the electrical. I was starting my preparations for the roof raise, which meant that wiring had to be addressed. There were basically two things I had to achieve. The first was to remove any extra wiring that was unneeded, like for example the flasher signals. The other was to extend wiring where it was needed to accommodate for the roof raise. I started by sorting through the wires to figure out what was needed and what was not. The best way I found to do this was to trace the wires from the load or from the source. I would then double check with the wiring diagram on the door to see what circuit it was from. While I was at it, I removed some of the air lines that were supplying pressure to the piston on the stop sign. This bus wasn't sold to me with a CB radio installed, and if I ever wanted to put one in, I would rewire it fresh, so I removed all the wiring for that as well. It's kind of a bad camera angle, but what I did here was remove the wires from the overhead flashers. Legally speaking, these cannot be functional in order for me to be able to register this as an RV. By the way, if you're enjoying this content, I'd be very grateful if you'd consider liking and subscribing. I know you probably hear that a lot, so no pressure, but if you want to, I'd appreciate it. All of the wires that hang along the side of the bus here run down behind this panel, so in order to access it, I needed to remove it. To get the panel off, however, I also needed to pull out the sides of the window. To do that, I had to remove the screws. Funny how that works. It's almost like those Russian dolls where you have to keep removing layers just to get to the last doll. So to those of you who grew up riding buses to school, do you remember the sound that was made when an emergency exit was opened? Yep, that's the wiring you're seeing me remove right now. So these three wires are for the marker lights on the top of the back of the bus. I needed to extend these to make room for the roof raise, but I made a bit of a mistake here too. I added 18 inches because that was the height I was increasing by, but I forgot to take into account that the wires originally ran over the top of the frame here, not the bottom like I set up later. So these are the connectors I used on pretty much everything. They're solder/heat shrink all-in-one design. I love these things and they're relatively easy to use. Basically, you strip your wires, twist the strands together, and slide this over the joint. Apply some heat and voila, you have a solid connection. I bought these from Amazon, though you can probably find these at any electrical supplier. I'll see if I can find the listing and I'll put a link in the description below if I can find it. I feel like this should go without saying, but do not use these for house wiring. This is all automotive 12 volt and is not designed for 120 volt AC systems. Ideally, I'd use crimp connections, but I have a bad history with those, so I avoid them like the plague. And that's all for this week's video. Hopefully you enjoyed. Don't forget to check out my second channel where I play video games. Thank you so much for watching, enjoy your day, and I'll see you next time.